He said, pray as you see me pray. Utter these words that you hear me say. Based on the sunnah, worship Him, just follow them.
Assalamu alaikum. New class coming to you every Monday and Wednesdays, taught by Ustad Layla Nashiba, the fiqh of prayer. Every Monday and Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Inshallah, we'll see you there. Streaming on all major platforms. Channel Sunnahfollowers.
About how to perform the prayers the correct way. We went over the pillars of the prayer. Who can tell me what are the pillars of the prayer? Who can name them all? Who can name? And we begin with the intention. I'll give you that one. What are the pillars of the prayer? Anyone?
Okay, so the intention, first you just said that. The opening of the prayer is a takbir. You must stand. You must mention the Fatiha. No, you have to say the Fatiha. You have to bow down, prostrate, sitting, and the final tashahhud to the right. Taslim.
Girl, you go, girl. She got them all. I'm trying to write them. Okay, good job. Those are the sunnahs, and I want y'all to look at the ticker. I put it in the ticker now. What are the pillars? Those are the pillars of the prayer. The pillars of the prayer are, number one, you have to have intentions. And the intentions are not recited out loud. The simple fact that you know it's time to pray and you're going to pray, that's your intention. Then if the prayer opens with the takbir, standing is a pillar. The Fatiha is a pillar. The bowing is a pillar. The tashahhud. Which tashahhud is a pillar? We're going to talk about that. The second tashahhud is a pillar of the prayer, which is the final tashahhud. Also, the sitting is a pillar of the prayer, and the assalamu alaikum to the right is a pillar of the prayer. So like a lot of brothers ask me, they say, Layla, I went to the mosque, the imam said assalamu alaikum and got up and left. He didn't pray right. Why come he didn't? Because he didn't say it to the left. This is a pillar. The prayer closes, as the prophet said, the prayer opens with the first takbir, and the prayer closes with the salam to the right. Okay? It's a sunnah to do both sides, but it's also, you can just do the right. Most of the time, the prophet did both sides, but there are some times where he just salamed out to the right. Okay? So don't jump on the imam because he does that. Don't call him an innovator. Don't make takfir. Don't make takfir against the imam because he did that. All right? And so today what I'm going to do is go over the sunnahs of the prayer. And we're going to talk, I'm going to answer the question that one of the brothers, Brother Edward asked, how do we raise our hands? Brother Edward was talking about how some of the brothers do this. Is this the sunnah? When we raise our hands to say Allahu Akbar and put our hands over our ears or next to our ears? Today we're going to talk about that. We're going to go into the sunnahs, and I'm going to tell you about the hands. We're going to focus on the hands. So let's put the PowerPoint up. Exactly, Brother Tajri. Good job. Let's take a look at it. So here we go. Yeah, today we're going to be covering the sunnahs of the prayer, putting emphasis on the placing of the hands, because a lot of the brothers come to me with this question about the hands. Okay? So let's take a look at it. But before we go into that, let me continue the quiz. Y'all know me. Which of the following things, and I don't want Mina to answer. Oh God, I'm giving it away. I'm sorry. Which of the following things is a pillar of the prayer? And the reason why I'm asking it again is because I've learned yesterday. I can give y'all the answer to a question, explain it, and 5 minutes later, y'all done forgot. Ask Sister Layla. She'll tell you about it. So, which of the following things are a pillar of the prayer? What about the bowing? Is the bowing a pillar of the prayer? Yes or no?
Yes, it is a pillar.
What do you guys on YouTube think? The people on YouTube, do you think it is or not? Is the bowing a pillar of the prayer? What you think, Brother Tajri? Brother Edward? Okay, Sister Halima said, yes, it is. Fatima said, yes, it is. Jamila, good job. Yes, it is. It is a pillar. And when we say Brother Tajri said no. Okay, it is a pillar. Brother Tajri, I want you to remember that. The bowing is a pillar. And what does that mean when we say that it's a pillar? Can anybody explain that? What does it mean when we say it's a pillar of the prayer?
It means you have to do it. If you don't do it, your prayer is not accepted.
Exactly. Yeah, don't be sorry. This is a teach you, babe. This is a teach you, brothers. You guys that are new to Islam too, take notes. This is a teach you. A lot of people were born Muslim and don't know this answer. Bowing is a pillar. If you don't bow, your prayer is not accepted. So say this: I made salat and I forgot to bow in the third rakat. I forgot to bow in the third rakat. Do I have to make that prayer over? Yes or no? I forgot to bow.
Yes, you do, because it's a pillar.
Exactly. Yes, I have to make it over. So it doesn't matter what rakat you forgot. If you didn't do that bowing, the prayer is not accepted. And you need to remember that, because we're going to get to another point later on next week where that plays an important role. What about this? Is the standing a pillar of the prayer?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yes, it is. Good job. Standing. When can I sit? Can I choose to sit and do my prayers?
You can't.
Whoever it is that's mumbling, we can't hear you. When can
If you can't stand, you can sit.
Exactly. The only time you can do your prayer sitting down is if something is wrong with you and you can't stand. So say, for example, I'm sick and I can't stand up, then I can pray sitting. But if you are capable of standing, guys, standing is a pillar of the prayer. You have to stand. And how do we stand? Do we slouch over? Do I just slouch? How do we stand?
You stand up straight with your back, back as straight as you can.
Exactly. The prophet said, stand straight with your back straight. You have to stand up straight. Don't slouch over before your Lord. You're praying to your Lord. And even when we bow, make sure your back is straight. We don't go half job through these positions. What about this? Is prostrating? Is prostrating a pillar of the prayer?
Yes.
Yes, it is. You have to prostrate. If you don't prostrate, your prayer is not accepted. And again, the only time you don't have to is if you can't. But you have to perform the prayer properly, guys, if you want it to be accounted. What about the first tashahud? Is the first tashahud a pillar of the prayer?
No.
No.
Good
No,
job.
second
No,
is.
no,
The
it
second
is
is.
not. No, it is not. The second tashahud is. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. The first tashahud. So say, for example, I was making salat and I forgot to recite the first tashahud when I was sitting. Do I have to repray my prayer?
No.
Good job. No, you do not, because it was not a pillar. What about the assalamu alaikum to the left? The second salam. Is that a pillar of the prayer?
No.
No.
No, it's not. So that means even if I forget to give the second salam to the left, my prayer is still accepted. The pillar is the one to the right. Okay. Now, who can tell us, how do we perform the bowing? Can you detail to us how we're supposed to be positioned when we bow?
Your hands on your knees.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good job, Sabrine. You should bend over and place both of your hands. Place both of your hands over your knees and your back. Again, good job, Brother Edward. Your back should be straight. Where should my eyes be when I'm praying? When I'm bowing and standing, where should my eyes be?
Where are you going to prostrate?
Good job. Your eyes should be on that spot on the floor where your head will meet. You should not be looking all around in the prayer and looking behind you and looking to see who's standing behind you. Your eyes should never move that spot where your head will hit that floor. That's how we keep our concentration. Okay, good job. So now who can tell us, how do we perform the prostration? How is the prostration performed? Who can detail it?
The prostration is your nose and your forehead has to be touching the ground, and your so it's 7 parts. So it's your nose, your forehead, both of your hands, and then both of your knees, and then your top of your 2 feet.
Yeah, the toes of your feet. Exactly. Good job. And what about my arms? Should my arms be on the floor? How should my elbows and arms
Your
be?
elbows should be straight up, not on the floor
Exactly.
like a dog.
Exactly. Up. You see how I got my arms up? Raise them up. They got exercises. Oh, yeah, for you elderly sisters. Oh, yeah, you can work out in that chair. This is good for the shoulders. But you should be your nose, your forehead, all the fingers of your hand flat, like this on the floor, flat. Spread it apart, flat. My elbows up, okay? My knees on the floor and my toes, all, that part of the top part of your foot, this is the top, all that on the floor. Exactly. That's the prostration. So these are the things we talked about the last time we met. Those are all the pillars. Now we're going to go into the sunnahs of the prayer. And this is the question that many of you brothers ask me, because there's different schools of thoughts, the methabs and the fighting and all of that. That's why we need to learn the hadith, because you will never understand how to do anything until you learn the hadith. And the prophet was very detailed. Let's talk about the raising of the hands. The raising of the hands, this is done at the beginning of every prayer's takbir. Remember, the brother asked me, it was you, Edward, that asked me the other day, do you raise him to your ear or do you no? All the people agree that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam raised his hands at the beginning of the prayer, and here is how he did it. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's raising of the hands at the beginning of each prayer, by the way, this is food for thought, has been narrated by over 50 companions. Over 50 companions told us that the Prophet raised his hands before each prayer, including all 10 that were given the good news of paradise. And how did he raise it? The hands are to be raised to the shoulders with the fingertips parallel to the bottom of the ears. Does everybody understand? And I know Imam Hanafi got a different opinion. I know all these different opinions. Well, we don't practice Islam based on anyone's opinion. We practice Islam based on how Allah said to do it. And here's the authentic dalil. Abu Hurairah, he was not a four imam. He was the originals. He said that whenever the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam stood for prayer, he would raise his hands and have them open. He with them being open. So that's telling you something there too. Remember, the brother asked, do I close my hands and make a fist, or do I hold my hands down? Now, if you got a disability, that's different. But no, you raise your hands and the Prophet's hands would be open like this. Okay? And this is the source of the hadith. There's the source. Islam is based on proof from the Prophet and the companions, not from nobody else. Also, about those hands. This is the second question that the brother asked me about when to raise them. First of all, you're going to raise them every time you come up off the floor. Allahu Akbar. Y'all understand that? Whenever you go to stand, write this down, Edward. Whenever you stand, that's when you raise your hands to the shoulder. So I'm going to begin the prayer, Allahu Akbar, to the shoulder. When I bow and I come back up, that's when we raise the hands again. When I go down to the floor and sit, do I raise the hands? No. You don't prostrate and then go Allahu Akbar and sit. No. We raise the hands when we're standing. So when I stand up off the floor, when I go from prostrating to stand, that's when I do it. And again, one must raise the hands at about the same time that you say Allahu Akbar. Everybody right, take a screenshot of this. Where's my dalil? Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, would begin his prayer. He would say the takbir and raise his hands. The Prophet Muhammad also did this. This is all from Bukhari, Nasai, Abu Dawud, and others. He also said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would raise his hands upon making the takbir until they were parallel to his shoulders. Y'all see that? The shoulders, not the ears. So we don't do this. This is not the Mickey Mouse Club. No, Islam is not silly. You got brothers doing this. This is not Islam. The prophet would raise his hands to the level of his shoulders. Y'all see my shoulders? I'm parallel. That means right next to the shoulder. And my fingers should be open parallel to the ears. Not parallel, parallel to the bottom of the ear. That means at the bottom, not the top. It's not the same height as the ear. It's at the bottom, below the ear. Just Allahu Akbar. That's all. Allahu Akbar. Y'all see that? Allahu Akbar. Okay. As for the raising the hands before the takbir, a lot of people ask that, Sister Layla, I prayed at a mosque. The imam would, or somebody would raise their hands before saying Allahu Akbar. Well, listen to this authentic hadith. Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, said, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam stood for prayer, he would raise his hands until they were parallel to his shoulder and then make the takbir. What's the source of this hadith? Bukhari and Muslim. Can't get no better than that, people. Also, we have a hadith from Malik ibn al-Huwayrith. This is also from Sahih Muslim. Make the takbir and then raise your hands. Allahu Akbar. So that's why you will see the imams doing it that way. They'll be say Allahu Akbar and then raise the hands. This is the dalil. They're doing it correctly. This is from what Ibn Umar told us. This is what the Prophet did. Again, make the takbir and then raise your hands. That's Sahih Muslim. That's also Sahih Bukhari. Make the takbir. What does that mean? Say Allahu Akbar and then raise your hands. So you're getting ready to pray, Brother Edward. You say Allahu Akbar and then raise your hands. And put them across your chest and go into your Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah. Then Allahu Akbar, and then you're going to go into your bowing. Then Allahu Akbar, and then you're going to raise them. You see that? Make sure y'all take screenshots of this. And this is straight from the authentic hadith. We talked about maqasid. Maqasid, the highest aim. As Muslims, we're supposed to aim high, the higher aim of understanding the Quran, the maqasid, the higher aim of understanding this religion. The only way you're going to have that aim is by basing everything on what the Prophet and his companions said, not the four imams, not a mathab, not a sheikh. Nobody can overrule these people. That's why I was telling you in yesterday's class, when it comes to me explaining or interpreting the Quran to you, I use the analytical approach, followed by the themes, and also with comparative. And everything is based on what the Prophet and the companion said. That's the same way with me with the hadith. There's a science of hadith too. Maqasid, aim high. I'm going to give you what the Prophet said, what the companion said. I could care less what anybody after them had to say. May Allah bless all those brothers. May Allah bless the four imams. They were the best too. May Allah bless Ibn Taymiyyah. You know, you do your ijazah. My ijazah includes Ibn Taymiyyah. May Allah bless him and forgive him of his sins. But I'm sorry, the religion is based on what the Prophet Muhammad said. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. With the understanding of those companions. Y'all understand? Exactly. That's the traditional Islam. That's maqasid. All right. So when you brothers pray, does this mean that you get into arguments with these other brothers? No. Because again, these are sunnahs. What does it mean when I tell you that these are sunnahs? That means that you don't have to do these things. Raising the hands is not a pillar of the prayer, so it's not worth arguing about. Y'all understand? Allah will accept their prayer whether they raise their hands or not. So it's not worth fighting over. But for those of us who want to pray, as the prophet said, pray, this is how you do it correctly. This is maqasid. This is the higher understanding, the higher aim of application. You raise your hands to the level of the shoulders. Hands are open. As Ibn Umar and Abu Hurairah said, the fingers below the ears, not above them. The takbir before you raise. Allahu Akbar before you raise. Okay. Also another sunnah too, it's preferred to raise your hands while going to bow and coming up from the bow too. But again, if you're praying with an imam or someone that doesn't raise their hands, it's okay. Don't call them out on it. Don't argue. Don't fight. Don't even mention it, because these are not pillars. But the prophet said, pray as you see me pray. When we pray exactly like him, you get more blessings, more reward. It strengthens your prayer. It strengthens your connection with Allah. Okay? Now, where's my dalil? I've given you the sources, and also just to let y'all know, over 22 companions narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam raised his hands. He would raise his hands while going to bow, and he would raise his hands when coming up to bow. That's how you know it's solid. Maqasid. 22 companions. And also we have this hadith of Ibn Umar. He said when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam stood to pray, he would raise his hands until they were the same height as his shoulders. And then he would make the takbir. When he wanted to bow, he would again raise his hands in a similar fashion. Y'all see that? To the shoulder. When he raised his head from the bowing, he did the same. And he would say, Sami Allahu liman hamidan. Okay? Now, if this is in Sahih Bukhari. Imam Bukhari says he would not do that when he was going to prostrate, nor when he came up from prostration. So there's your dalil that we don't say raise the hands when sitting, when between the bowing, the prostrating and the sitting. We don't do that. If you see Muslims doing that, that's innovation. Okay? Also, Imam Bukhari said he would not raise his hands between the two prostrations. He did not stop doing that until he died. So anybody's telling you that the Prophet would, sit and do that, no, that's not correct. Also, we have this hadith. When Ibn Umar stood for the third rakat, he would raise his hands, an action which he ascribed to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And while describing the Prophet's prayer, Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, said that when he stood from the two prostrations, he would raise his hands until they reached the shoulders. So again, guys, the raising of the hands, the opening takbir, before bowing, after bowing, and when coming and when coming up off the floor. Please take a screenshot of all these hadiths. Take a screenshot of this page so you brothers have it, because this is all the evidence, all the dalil. I put the whole sources. All right. Now, oh, wait a minute. Oh, no, I put something else. Oh, I thought that, I forgot this. Women. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about you little missies. Some of you sisters are talking about that some brothers told y'all that y'all don't have to bend and bow. Well, here we go. Women have to pray the same way the men pray. Y'all remember this name? Eshakani. Eshakani. Remember we were talking in our Hasidic Tafsir class that there's another Tafsir book by Eshakani. And I told y'all that sometimes y'all may hear me use his name. There he is. As he said, know that this sunnah is to be done by men and women. There is no proof to show that there is any difference between how a woman prays or a man prays. There is also no proof to show how they raise their hands. And then we have the hadith of Aisha. May Allah be pleased with her. What's the source? What's the source? Sahih Muslim. When the Roman women came and asked her about the prayer, she said, we women pray the same as the men. There's no difference in how we pray. So I don't know who these brothers are telling you women to tuck it, to push your butt in. I don't know where they come from. But that's not the way the female companions did it. And so now we're going to talk about the positioning of the hands. Look at this picture. We're going to talk about placing the right hand over or upon the left. This is a sunnah. So what does that mean? That means don't fight with each other. You're at a mosque and a brother's praying next to you. He doesn't raise his hands. He doesn't even put his hands over his chest. He prays with his hands to his sides. These are the Malikis. They follow the method of the Malikis. That's not how Imam Malik prayed. Imam Malik used to raise his hands like the Prophet did. But then when Imam Malik was beaten and they broke his fingers, he was unable to raise his hands. Okay? When he died, it was his students that made that a part of their school of thought. That wasn't what Imam Malik said. He said, raise your hands. Okay? But you're going to pray with people who don't put their hands over their chest either. Well, don't argue. There are over 20 hadith from 18 companions and their followers about this. For example, Sahal ibn Sa'd. Sahal ibn Sa'd. He said the people were ordered by the Prophet to place their right hand on their left forearm during the prayer. And this is a Bukhari hadith too. Y'all see this picture here? See how these men, they're praying. They have their right hand over their left forearm. That's the way the Prophet taught them. Okay? This is from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Also, we have the authentic hadith. This is in Bukhari too, where the Prophet said all the prophets of Allah were ordered to hurry to break their fast and to delay the sahur. And they were ordered to place our right hands on our left during the prayer. So all the prophets, this is the way Moses prayed. This is the way Abraham prayed. This is the way Jesus prayed. Noah, Solomon, David, they all prayed with their their right hands over their left, on their left during the prayer. There's your dalil. We also have a hadith from Jabir. He says that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed by a man who was praying with his left hand over his right, and the Prophet pulled him away and put his right over his left. So there's the dalil on it. But again, I don't want you brothers fighting and arguing about this in the mosque because it's just a sunnah. Okay? And the position of the hands. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam placed his hands on his chest, just like this. This is narrated by Hubd el-Tai. He said, I saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam praying with his right hand over his left, upon his chest, above the elbow. Because you're going to see Imam Hanafi has that school of thought, has their view on where your hand should be, or below the elbow. I mean, the belly button and all that stuff. Other imams got their views. We don't care. You have it from this companion that the Prophet prayed with his hands over his chest. Just like this picture here. And that's all that matters. Also another hadith, Ibn Hajar. Once when I prayed with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he placed his right hand over his left upon his chest. Then he put his right hand over the back of his left wrist and forearm, just like this man is doing in this picture. This is how all of us, women and men, should pray. This is the position that all of our hands should take. Okay? So I'm going to stop right here because this is a lot of information. I'm going to try to break it down body part by body part. This is the hands, the positioning of the hands and stuff. So, but again, I don't want you brothers fighting and arguing and all that crap because these are all sunnahs. If you're at the mosque and a brother doesn't raise his hands at all, it's okay. His prayer is accepted. If the imam doesn't raise his hands, it's okay. The prayer is accepted. These are all sunnahs. If they don't put their hands over their chest, it's okay. It's accepted. Your prayer is not invalidated because you do the opposite. All right. Any questions?